Hey everyone, how's it going? We're back for another Dragon Age video. It's been a bit, but finally got to toward the end of the game. It says level 46, but this is a level 45 guide. I had to record this again, and I have now done a mission that leveled me up. But I haven't used the skill point, so it will be a level 45 build video. But we'll start off straight away. The three abilities that we'll be using are Chain Lightning, Storm Surge, and Voidblade. They're going to be just, pretty much what we're throwing out all the time. They are all strike abilities, with Voidblade being Blast. So for that reason, you'll see that I take upgrade strike abilities at pretty much every chance I get. There's a couple blast ones in there just because Voidblade I use pretty often. That's mainly because of a companion trait later on that I will mention. But notably, we go up the tree this way in order to get the light armor bonuses, as well as the takedown granting shocking weapons, as well as shocking weapons doing more stagger damage. This build does a lot of stagger damage. I find often enemies are staggered very quickly, which is great. And that means that we can take them down more often. But we also come this way to get the mana regeneration. In order to get these two, we have to do it, but it's very clutch. There is also some mana restoration after defeating an enemy. And then there's other instances where we take more mana recovery. So that's never really an issue with this build. The other important part of it is the perfect cast, which I do very often. You'll see in the video. It's just the second time that it lights up, you let go, and you do 50% more damage. Super clutch, especially with the fact that we took more stacks of the arcane bomb. But down here, we just add to our electric abilities, as well as increasing the shock stacks, which we definitely want to have. Coming this way to the left, we have the granting of ultimate, as well as health when we do a takedown. Again, because of the high stagger damage, we end up doing that quite often, and it just means that we can throw out our ultimate pretty liberally, which is super nice. Just increasing stagger more, and then also doing return fire, which is very clutch. I mean, it applies arcane bombs super quickly or detonates them in a very powerful way. So this is very helpful. Arcane bomb damage, just because we have arcane bombs going off all the time. We increase our arcane bomb stacks by 1 here, and then later on in another node as well. Before we continue that way, we're going to come down here, and I'm going to show the electrical burns, which means that applying burn also applies shocked, and applying shocked also applies burning, which makes these burning abilities possible. So that's very important to pick up, as well as the blast ability upgrade, mainly just because blast abilities now deal 25% more detonation damage, which comes from Voidblade. And Harding will be the companion that is setting that up for us. And again, later on, you'll see why that's so important. The affliction damage plus 10, and then the bonus staggered enemies with affliction is very, very important, because we have an affliction on enemies pretty much all the time. And then we come to another kind of bread and butter for the gameplay that I ended up kind of doing for most of the campaign, is the Spirit Blade. We do pick up, I think, the upgrade through this tree that gives us a second charge of it when it comes back at us. So right when it comes back, you press Y and then it goes out again. So that is used pretty often. It's especially clutch with the multiple stacks of arcane bomb, because you'll detonate one with the first one, and then you'll detonate another one with the second one. So it ends up just detonating arcane bombs like crazy. Here is the second stack of arcane bomb that we take. And then we take every single node here other than this one. I just don't feel like it's extremely necessary. I feel like arcane bombs, they're on enemies all the time. I might take it now with this 46th point, but I'm actually not even sure. I don't think it's that crucial. I don't ever notice that there is a lack of arcane bombs on enemies, so I just feel like it's better used elsewhere. Yeah, but that's pretty much the important rundown of the skill tree. Just going through the skills and kind of the other nodes that help our primary skills out. From here, I'll show this just so if anybody's trying to do exactly that, you can see it. But we'll go to our companions next, and then our gear. So as mentioned before, Harding is one of the companions that I use all the time. Her shred ability is going to be what allows us to detonate with the Voidblade, I think. So we are going to be throwing that out all the time. I also have her soothing potion fully upgraded just in case I'm doing pretty bad and need some health. But her shred is going to be what she's throwing out all the time. Eventually you can upgrade it to where she throws it out without you asking for it, and it's independent of the cooldown. So that's why I have upgraded Blast. Voidblade is the only one that uses Blast out of the skills that we're using, but since she throws it out quite often, I like to have that upgraded. And the other companion that we use is Lucanis, and that is because his Eviscerate detonates anything that's overwhelmed. And we have Chain Lightning as well as Storm Surge, which apply overwhelmed. Storm Surge is on a cooldown, so pretty much just when that's available, you can throw it out. If you are for some reason running low on mana, it's really clutch. If not, Chain Lightning is great. Both of them hit multiple enemies. Chain Lightning, I feel like, does it more consistently. But you can throw out whichever one of those to take advantage of Lucanis's explosion with Eviscerate. For our gear, it's fairly simple. Everything just focuses on stagger, fire, and electric damage. Here are Mage's Gambit, the orb, fire, and electric damage. We've got critical damage as well as arcane bomb detonation. It does critical damage again, and we've got in our skill tree critical damage upgrades as well, so that's why I've gone with this. With the staff, it is fire, but that's not an issue anymore because of the skill point where you can apply shock with when you applied fire. So this becomes much better once you get that. I was running this for a while and it wasn't as good until I got that skill point. For our helm, it's just kind of mage things, mana regeneration as well as more stagger damage. The important one here is the ability cost refund. It makes it so that you can toss things out more often. For our normal light armor, it is legendary now, which is great, and it's just increasing damage to armor as well as heavy attack and charged heavy attack, which I do quite often. Again, with that perfect timing on the charged attack, it's going out all the time. Nothing special with the belt. I don't actually notice the immovable on potion use, but the advantage duration is clutch, and I mean, it's just the best belt that I've got right now, so that's what I end up using. The first of the uniques that I use is this one, which puts every enemy as a low health enemy. The big one there is just the defeating an enemy grants 5% ultimate. It's just helps with throwing out ultimates all the time, which is what I do with this build. And then the next unique is just more stagger damage. The gaining a random advantage on takedown, I don't notice it too much. Again, it's just mainly the takedown and stagger damage. It's not going to be very easy to see because I'm playing on a higher difficulty, which everything just has an insane amount of health. So sometimes it may seem underwhelming. It's not. It's just enemies have a ton of health. The second ring is going to be increasing our charged attack damage more, which goes out all the time, as well as armor and barrier damage, which when you fight the dragons, they leave and they get full barrier back. So this is really clutch for that. The dragon fights in this are quite annoying. especially on the higher difficulties, because again, it's just more and more health and it gets kind of boring and it's just a battle of attrition. So it helps with that. And then lastly, for our dagger, it's the obviously increased stagger, increased electricity damage, and this is the one that I do the active ability for, but it gives us you more ability damage, and then it just increases your next ability quite a bit when you use it, when you do the active one. So but that's pretty much a rundown of the build. Again, we're toward the end of the game, so that's pretty much what it looks like. Again, just these 3 abilities, and they resonate really well with Lucanis and Harding as your companions. But yeah, we'll jump into some gameplay showing off the build, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
For the glory of Tapenta, reborn! Understood.
They were talking about an old woman.
Hey! On the job.
On to you.
Luca. You will never see. Thanks, Lucanis.